Hi, welcome to another Take Your Time Tuesday from Rolling Ridge. I'm Steve Garnaas-Holmes, a writer, retired Methodist minister, and occasional retreat leader at the Ridge. In living a contemplative way, it's important but sometimes hard to keep balance between, on the one hand, our awareness of our own sin, and on the other hand, our awareness of our blessedness and belovedness, awareness of the suffering of the world, and at the same time, awareness of the beauty and goodness in the world. One of the ancient contemplative practices that helps us maintain this balance is what's called the Examen. It's a Latin word, E-X-A-M-E-N, that obviously is the root of our word examination, and it's often referred to as the examination of conscience. I'm aware that conscience is a function of our judgment, what's good and what's evil, and that seems to be a step removed from what's really contemplative, that runs deeper than just our judgments, because our judgments are consciousness. Our conscience is frequently affected by our consciousness, what we're aware of, what we're not. Sometimes what we think is good or evil is bent out of shape because of what we may or may not be aware of or blind to. So I think of the examen as an examination of consciousness. What do I notice? How do I see myself in the world? It's a practice that was developed in the ancient monastic communities. I don't know if this is true, but I imagine that what would happen is once an hour the bell rings at the monastery and all the monks or the sisters stop and pray. And this form of prayer is looking back over the last hour or day or whatever period you want to review, simply noticing what's there. There's no judgment, there's no fixing it, there's no having an opinion about it. You just notice what's there. And in particular, the Examen notices these two sort of light and dark sides, we might say. Asks these two questions. One question is, what are those moments that I'm aware of, that I'm most grateful for? Times when I felt like I was in harmony with God's delight, or that I felt life flowing through me most alive. And on the other hand, one of those times that I'm aware of that I'm not so grateful for, those times that maybe I regret, times when I didn't feel in harmony with God's grace, or times when I felt dead or somehow wrong. This corresponds pretty closely to what Ignatian would call moments of consolation and desolation. The Examen, we simply allow ourselves to be aware of those two things. And that's all. We don't judge them or fix them or have opinions about them. We just notice them in God's presence. Let God notice them with us, and then move on. So I invite you to join me in that discipline now. We begin by noticing our breathing in and breathing out. That's a physical manifestation of that balance. The light and the dark, neither of which is necessarily good or bad. They're just light and dark. Breathing in and breathing out are both necessary. So we become aware of our breathing in and out, and that it's a gift that comes from beyond us. There is some force that some of us might call God that simply makes us breathe. Aware of that breathing, the in and the out. We are aware that we are accompanied by the one who makes that breathing happen. This is the Ruach, the Spirit, the breath of God. And in that loving presence, you might even imagine Jesus sitting with us. We allow to come into our consciousness those moments for which we're most grateful. You don't have to rummage around, don't work at it, don't try to remember, just let them become visible in your awareness. What are those moments that you're most grateful for in the last hour or day or whatever period? Those times when you felt most in harmony, life most vibrantly flowing through you. Call those to mind and just let them be there. Simply notice that they're there. be aware that God is noticing with you. God receives those memories. And all we need to do is say thank you and move on. We become aware then of those moments in the last hour or day or whatever period we're not so grateful for. Maybe we regret times when we felt at odds with life, or when life was not flowing through us. Times maybe when we were out of harmony with God's delight. Times that felt wrong. It might be times when we felt sinful. It might just be times when we were wounded. Whatever. Those moments that are hard, let them come into your awareness and simply notice them. You don't have to wish otherwise or apologize or fix. Just notice. And imagine Jesus sitting with you, noticing with you. One of the great gifts of this discipline is that now, what comes next is nothing. You don't have to do anything. You just noticed. You say, there. Give it all to God's grace. Trust that God was present in both the easy and the hard times, the light and the dark, the bliss and the struggle, the gratefulness and the regret. God is there in all of that. So simply say thank you to God for being there. Trust that God will continue to be there in all the hard times and the easy times, the dark and the light, gratitude and the regret. God will be there. God maintains that balance for us. All we have to do is notice it. Say thank you. And let that deep peace that gives us go with you as you go on. Peace be with you.